Welcome back to S.Wilson's Automotive channel. Here's a project that I have, a 1971 Volkswagen Super Beetle. I bought this car not far from my house. It had sit for approximately 15 years before I got it. Did not pay that much for it. It's not a bad car, don't have much rust. It was repainted like an eggshell yellow at some point, I think by the owner that I got it from. But the original color of the car is pretty red here. This was caved in before I got it. A limb had fell across it. So this whole portion of the roof here to down to right there was actually caved in right there in the center. There's still a little bit of tweaking. I did pop this up. That's why the paint is missing here. I did pop the dent out, but as you see, there's still a lot of tweaking to do to get the roof exactly where it needs to be at. This car has a 1600 dual port engine. For right now, it's a single carb. Everything's pretty much untouched, besides the paint, of course. It has the original carb to the engine on it. Just a little single barrel carb. I did add a gas line and filter to it. I had ended up redoing all the gas hoses, but it's not too bad. As you can see, still got the generator on it. I did end up adding a header, as you can see right there, to this car because I plan on building it. But for right now, the header works great. I do have a stinger in the shop to go on this car. As you can see, the sun was always shining on them. He did replace these at some point, but as you see, they're faded for right now. It does have all of the hubcaps to go on here. For some reason, he put spacers up here in the front. I'm wondering if he was running a wider tire on front of this car. There's a nice little aluminum spacer back here. Probably can't see it. Nice little aluminum spacer back there for these front wheels. As you see, hubcaps aren't bad. They got little dents in them here and there. This car had new tires. He said he replaced them, and as you see, this got great tread, but you can see it has very bad dry rot on these tires. I wouldn't trust them for sure. I did take the front bumper off. It did come with that. I ended up taking this piece of chrome off because some of the clips was broke and it didn't want to stay on it, and I was scared it was going to get bent. Of course, it does have all the emblems. The guy redid the brakes on this car before I got it. Of course, I need to go back through all of it since it sat for so long. As you can see, he painted the drum the same color as the wheel, which is not going to stay green. And this eggshell yellow is definitely got to go. I'm not a fan of it. As you see, he replaced the chrome on the running boards. I mean, this one still got plastic on it right here that was never peeled off. But of course, where it sat for so long, it's done rusted underneath. It does have some dents and dings that was filled in with Bondo. The only rust I really have found in the car is I got a little bit here in front of the trunk lid, which isn't horrible. I got some there, a little bit bubbling right here, and of course the passenger side floorboard where the battery is located. That's almost like a factory delete on these cars that I've seen. Every one of them I've seen so far, you've had to replace them. And of course I do have this trim, but at some point I do not understand why this trim was lower than this trim. It's almost like they drilled the holes wrong somewhere, because it should be up and over, not right here. When I got the car, that trim was kind of loose. As you see, this piece of trim on this side is correct. And there's a bunch of spare parts that he threw in with the car. Of course, these has got to be replaced. They're dry rotted, which is not unusual. But overall, the car is not a bad car. One thing I want to do is straighten the roof out and put it back the original red. Unsure why somebody at some point painted this car black. And as you see, there's a little bit of a dent right there as well that I got to get out. Not horrible for the age to be a 1971. It's definitely a lot better than what I have seen. The main reason the guy supposedly quit driving it, he done all the work to it, messed his back up, and he couldn't push the clutch in, is the main reason he sold this car. Which I think is pretty sad, knowing you done all of that work to the car just to be where you can't drive it. Overall, the car's not bad shape, especially up here. Don't know how well y'all can see that. There's no rust in the top part. Everything looks pretty well done. He did rewire some on the car. I do not know why, but it looks like he done some pretty decent quality stuff. But I was gonna go through Painless Performance and actually rewire the car like it should be with an actual kit. I don't know why somebody poked a hole in there. That's not a rust hole. Somebody got crazy with a drill. Actually drilled through there. Really don't know why they did that. But eventually I will either go 1776cc with this car or 1914cc with this car. It's going to be a pretty hot street little car that I definitely will take to the track and enjoy, and especially taking to the shows. But overall, the car is not a bad little car. It is fun, especially right now. I mean, these little cars are fun and pretty cheap to work on, and they're very simple. Pretty good project. Overall, like I said, the paint's not the best, but that's all going to change anyways. Luckily, the engine was not stuck when I got this car. After sitting for so long, I had to end up rebuilding the carburetor on it. I ended up redoing that and ended up putting a voltage regulator on it and cleaning the plugs and replacing all the gas hose. I had to end up cleaning the gas tank out due to where it sit. It was pretty much varnish inside of the gas tank on this car, and it was very, very bad. It had a bunch of trash in it, had some rust in it, not enough to make holes. The car itself was well worth what I paid for it. And it's been a fun little project. I do have parts to build the engine. And I got 2 different sets of parts that I ordered. And I do have all the brake stuff to redo the brakes. Very undecided on wheels at this point. I'm definitely not going to run these narrow wheels that's on here. I want to go with a wider wheel in the back and have it kind of staggered with a narrow wheel in the front. That bumper is definitely not staying on this car. I do have a set of dual carbs to go on here once I build the engine for it. But overall, the car, it makes a pretty good project. It's gonna make definitely a good driver once I go through the brakes and everything and get the tires sorted and go through the little knick-knack gremlins that may show up in this car. Every car after sitting, of course, they have some gremlins hiding. You just gotta find them. You definitely don't want to find them when you're driving them down the road. He did end up replacing all of the tie rods on this car. The struts has been replaced. He done the CV axles. He said he regasketed the engine on this car, but it does have some leaks. Due to sitting, probably. He did put a lot of work into this car, but it's going to get completely redone anyways to make it the way I want to make it. Definitely not eggshell yellow, for sure. It's not the best looking color in the world for these cars. Not for what I'm going to do to it, at least. But this is a new project that I got. I've had it now probably about 4 months so far. I've just been working on stuff like fuel system and just making sure everything is safe on the wiring, and doing little odds and ends here and there to it to get it where I can start driving it on the road. But this is a project, and thank y'all for stopping by. Y'all have a great one.